first thing I'm doing is washing the apples so I can have clean apples for this apple pie. Next thing I am doing is cutting the apples and taking the seeds out and taking the core out as well, because I want to cut them into very thin slices for this apple pie. So I'm going to continue doing this. So the way I am cutting this apple is cutting them into four and then taking the seeds out and slicing the middle out, so we don't have any seeds, so the middle part, because we won't be needing that for this apple pie. So this is how I am slicing it. I'm going to slice them as thinly as possible, and as you can see, I didn't take the skin out. The reason being, I washed the apples very thoroughly, so I didn't want to take the skin of the apple out. So that's how thin I want it for this apple pie. So I'm going to continue doing this until it's done. So now I have finished slicing the apples. As you can see, it took me some time, but I didn't want you to just watch me slicing apples, because that will make the video too long. So now I have finished slicing the apples and I'm going to put them in this bowl. So we're going to start seasoning it. I'm not seasoning, not with salt or pepper, anything, just with like brown sugar, cinnamon, things like that. But I'm putting lemon juice first so the apples don't turn brown. So I'm giving that a very good mix. And then the next thing that I'm going to add is brown sugar. So that's what I'm going to be adding next. So next I'm adding 2 1/4 cups of brown sugar, meaning half cup of brown sugar. So a quarter and a quarter is half. So the next thing I'll be adding is 1/3 cup, a third of a small cup of white sugar. So that's what I am adding next as well, because as you can understand, the apples are kind of sour, so you need to put some spices in there, make it a bit sweet, because this is apple pie after all. The next thing I am adding is vanilla extract, but I didn't have enough, so I'm gonna be adding another type as well, which is clear but it's still vanilla. So I added a tablespoon of vanilla extract, that's the brownish one, and then I also added a teaspoon of clear vanilla extract as well. So that's what I added. So next I am adding is mixed spice, which is a mixture of cinnamon, cloves, ginger and nutmeg. So we want this apple pie to taste really delicious. So I'm giving that a very good mix, very good mix, so everything is incorporated and combined. And then I am just going to leave that, but not till after I have added zest of an orange and the juice as well. So as you can see, I am grating the zest of an orange, but we don't want the white bits to be grated in there, because that's a bit bitter. We only want the orange bits. So that's what I am doing at this time. So I am grating it, so just to give this apple pie that extra zing and that extra taste. And the next thing I am going to do is squeeze the juice into the sliced apples. As you can see, I'm using my hand, but my hands are nice and very clean. So I'm now giving that a very good mix, very good mix, mixing everything. So what you have in this bowl is the apple, cinnamon, mixed spice, brown sugar, lemon juice and orange and zest. So that is the apples. As you can see, it's already collected a lot of juices, so I'm gonna leave that And next thing, I am ready to make this dough for this apple pie, because we need a dough or it won't be apple pie. So in this bowl you have 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. So that is 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And I'm also adding 1/4 of a cup of sugar, because this is apple pie, so the dough has to have a sweet taste, because it's a sweet pie, it's not a savory pie. So, and also adding a teaspoon of salt, because salt enhances sweet things. So, and then next thing, I am also adding butter. So I am adding 1/2 cup of butter, because we want this dough to be soft and flaky but not too hard. So as you can see, I'm using my fork. To mix the dough, so until we get a breadcrumb consistency. So that's what we want. So I'm adding some more butter, because I didn't think I added enough, because we don't want to have a dough that is too hard. So okay, so what I'm going to do now is mix everything in with my hand, because it's much easier when you use your hand. I've already done the initial with the fork, but you don't really get the feel of it until you use your hand. So I'm using my hand to work the butter into the dough until it becomes like breadcrumbs and fully incorporated. So that's what I am going to continue doing until we get something that remotely looks like a dough, something that we can form and roll. So that's what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I am working this dough, and then now I am adding some water. So with this kind of dough, or with any dough specifically, not specifically this one, you can't really measure and say, oh, I need 1 cup of water or 2 cups, because you have to just go by what you see. So basically, if the dough is too hard, then you add more water. If it's too soft, then you add more flour. So you just have to be flexible. This is a very forgiving dough. So as you can see, I am adding water, and that is cold water. So I'm adding it bit by bit until I get something I can knead. So I'm adding it bit by bit. So I'm trying to get a dough with my hand. So I need more water. So I'm adding some more water to the dough until it looks remotely like a dough. So I'm going to continue doing this until I get something I can actually bring out of the bowl and actually knead and roll, so we can get started on this delicious apple pie. So as you can see, it is formed the dough, at least something I can bring out of the bowl. So we're very close to making this dough for this apple pie. So I'm now bringing out the dough, and I'm just gonna roll it, knead it, and just make this dough for this apple pie. So it's this is the kind of dough for apple pie. So it's soft but crumbly, So I'm just basically, what I'm trying to do is just gather it together, just get it together and bring it together so I can make this dough. So that is exactly what I'm doing. So I'll just continue doing this until it's not as crumbly as it looks. I know it's hard to say that it's not going to be crumbly, but trust me, very soon it's going to be very, very easy to work with. I know it's crumbly now, but so I'm just gathering it together and making it into a softer dough that I can roll and make this pie. I'm going to continue doing this until it's not as crumbly as it looks anymore. So guys, as you can see, it's not as crumbly as it was in the beginning. Now it's something I can actually knead and roll. So what I'm going to do now is put it in some cling film, in some plastic wrap, and let it rest for about 20 minutes. so it has to rest, so it will be much easier to work with. So I'm going to keep that in the bowl and let it rest for 20 minutes, and then we'll get back to it soon. So as you can see, it's now rested for 20 minutes, and I'm now ready to roll this dough. So what I'm going to do is roll the dough, but divide it into two parts. So one for the bottom of the pie dish and one for the top. So let's look at our apple pie, apples, and see what it looks like. So you see it's been resting now for about 45 minutes, so it's a bit soft, and basically what we want is all the cinnamon and brown sugar and everything to be incorporated. So now I am ready to make this apple pie. So this is the dough. I'm going to start rolling it now. So the first thing I am going to do, can you see it's so nice and soft, and it's not as crumbly as it was. So I'm going to divide it into two as I'm doing right now. And one part is going to be for the bottom of the pie dish, and the other half is going to be for the top bit. So I have flour on my work surface, very clean work surface, and my hands are clean. So I'm going to start rolling this dough now. I'm going to flour my rolling pin, and I'm going to start rolling it. So that's what I'm doing. So basically what we want something that can fit into the pie dish. So I'm going to continue doing this until we have like a similar size. So I was going to use two grease-proof papers, but I decided to just use one, because basically what I don't wanting to do is stick to the rolling pin, so this is much easier for me. So basically we just want the length of the pie dish and a bit excess as well, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to continue doing this till I get something that can fit into the pie dish. So now I have rolled the dough enough. I think it's actually the right size, so I don't want to make it too thin. If not, I won't be able to lift it up on the board, the table. So this is what I'm doing. I'm basically using my rolling pin, to help me lift it up, because I don't want to use my hand, so that it doesn't have a crack or anything. So I'm slowly and gently putting it into the pie dish, and then I am now going to use my hand to fit it in nicely, so it's like a nice fit. And then what I'm going to do later on is cut off the excess. So that's what I'm doing. I have to be very careful because it's a very soft dough, so we don't want to tear it. But with this kind of things, it's very easy to repair anyway. If there's a little tear, you can just because there's excess, you can just take some from the excess and put where there, and then smoothen it with your hands. So that's what I'm doing at this time. So next thing I am going to do is use a knife, like you see me do. So like I was saying, if there's any tear, you can just easily repair it. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm now going to cut the excess off. So I am now cutting the excess off from the top, so it looks neat on the top. So that's what I'm going to so I'm going to go around the pie dish and cut the excess off, so it can look nice, for when I put the apples in, and then later on put the top, when I roll the other bits and put on the top. So I'm going to continue doing this till it's done.
what you wanna say to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Show me there's nothing fake to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Say what you wanna say to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Show me there's nothing fake to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Turn this room, turn it to an ocean. Let me float around. Eyes closed, like we're dreaming even when we're not. You and me got a whole other meaning, I don't know how. You and me just know how it feels when we're falling in love.
So guys, as you can see, my board is floured, so I'm now ready to roll the top bit for this dough. So I'm going to roll it in a minute. First of all, I'm just trying to stretch it out a bit so it will be easy for me to roll. So I've put some flour down so it doesn't stick too much, and I'm going to roll it now. So this will be the top of the apple pie. So the bottom is already in the pie dish, and then the apple slices are inside. So what I'm doing now is rolling the dough. So like I did with the first one, I'm going to roll this so it can cover the top. So I'm going to keep on doing this. So it has to be, you know, longer than the pie dish. It can't be shorter, it has to be a bit longer, so there's some excess. So I'm going to continue doing this until I get the right size to use to cover the actual apple pie before it goes into the oven. So I'm going to continue doing this till it's done. So like I did with the first one, I'm rolling it with a rolling pin, and I'm going to use that to cover the apple slices. So this will be the top dough. So this will be the actual apple pie on the top. So when it comes out of the oven, it will be nice and delicious and crusty, like an apple pie should be. So I have put the dough on top of it. So what I'm going to do now is cut some excess, but not too much, because I need something to be able to hold on to when I'm crimping it. So that's what I'm doing. I am using a knife to cut the excess off. So that's what I'm going to do until it's totally done. So I'm turning it around. I'm making sure it looks neat. You know, this is a homemade apple pie, so it doesn't have to look perfect. It's rustic. It's what the look we're looking for, is rustic. So homemade apple pie, you know, it's not a shop bought. So it is something that you make at home. So it doesn't really need to look like perfect with perfect edges, and you know, just something that you made at home yourself. So as you can see, what I'm doing is trying to make it look neat on the top. So what I'm doing is gathering it with my two hands and then crimping it together. So I'm going to keep doing this till I go around the whole pie dish. So this is what I'm doing. I cannot wait for you guys to see what this apple pie will look like. So I'm going to continue doing this till it's done. So as you can see, it is done. Everywhere has been crimped together. So I needed to crimp this so it gives a neat finish. So this is how it looks like. So the next I am going to do is make some little decorations to put on the top. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but because there was excess dough, I just thought, why not? So I'm just going to be doing some little decorations and putting on the top. You know, you can make any kind of decoration you want. You know, there's some people that like to make like a leaf or uh you know something of an apple or anything. You can make anything you want. It's entirely up to you. I'm just making some decorations just to put on the top, so at least there's excess dough. So, and I don't want to throw it away, and I don't, to be honest, because it's so small, I don't want to keep it in the fridge either. So I'd rather just use it for this apple pie. So I'm going to continue doing this till I'm done. So the next thing I am doing is whisking some beaten egg. So that's just one egg that I beat in a little bowl. So I'm going to brush that over the apple pie before putting it in the oven. And as you can see, I'm making some incisions on the top. The reason for this is so that when it starts to bake, the steam can escape from it, so it doesn't become soggy. So that's all. It's just like if you were making apple pie, or sorry, if you're making maybe meat pie, you know, you use a fork to, you know, chook it so the steam can escape. So that's what I'm doing with the knife on top of the apple pie, because the last thing you want to have is soggy apple pie. Oh my god, there's nothing worse. So that's what I'm doing. So now that that's done, I'm going to put some egg wash over it. So now I am ready to egg wash this apple pie before it goes into the oven. So I'm just putting some egg wash over it so that when it comes out, it you know, it has that glossy look on the top, nice and brown, you know. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm just going to keep doing this. And the oven has been preheating at 190 degree centigrade, and I'm going to be baking this for 40 to 45 minutes depending on the type of oven you have, and halfway I'm going to turn it round. So basically the look we want is something nice and brown. So this is it, guys. This is the apple pie, and I'm ready to put it in the oven. So into the oven it goes, and then I cannot wait to show you what it looks like when I bring it out. So that's the apple pie in the oven. So it is cooked and baked, and I'm bringing it out. It's time to cut into this apple pie and see what it looks like. Oh, see how crunchy that looks. That sound of crunch. That's what we're looking for. Oh, yes, look. Put some liquid. The potatoes, I said the potatoes, the apples have become really soft and nice. That's the apple pie. That's what it looks like on the inside. Nice and soft. That's the apple pie, guys. I'll be happy having mine with some custard. There's a custard recipe on my channel. So that is it, guys. The homemade apple pie and homemade custard. So guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. This is so good. All the spices just combine to come together. The cinnamon, the mixed spice, the brown sugar, the orange zest, the orange juice, everything. And you guys just gonna sit down, watch me eat. The crust is so nice and flaky. See? You hear that? See you in my next video, guys.